Hello, and welcome to the AppleInsider Podcast. I am your host, Wes Hilliard, and I am joined once again by William Gallagher. This week, if you're a paid AppleInsider Plus subscriber, we're going to be talking about the future and the past and everything that's went wrong at Apple. Actually, more specifically, is this the future that we were promised? You know, the Jetsons with Rosie wandering around doing the dishes for us, AI, voice assistants, smart homes. What exactly went right? What went wrong? And why even bother with any of this anyway? Like, did voice assistants actually change the world? Is the smart home as smart as we wanted it to be? We're going to go into this a little bit and maybe get into our wish list of what actually should be coming from sci-fi and not these things. Otherwise, I think we got a packed show this week. A lot of stuff going on. William, how you doing?
Well, actually, I'm coming from the UK, so I am unencrypted. Yeah. Do I sound different or anything yet?
Did it turn off for you, or do you? Is it just the toggle to do it is gone? So now, if you ever turn it off, it'll never come back.
I went into the section and it was saying basically time's up kind of thing. But yeah, I'm a little unclear over A, whether or not we ultimately will have to do it, or B, whether or not the UK will cave in and just say, never mind, we're sorry kind of thing. Guess which way I'm rooting for? As a Brit, I'm not on Britain's side in this one.
I feel like this is one that'll go by pretty quickly. I mean, I think other countries, even the United States, have tried similar things, and Apple's just said no. And they move on eventually.
Well,
they have
actually,
other things to do.
In all seriousness, a few years ago, I thought it was very funny that the then Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, he did this thing of saying, and we're talking to Apple about, I don't think he used the term, he wouldn't use encryption backdoor, but that's what he meant. We're talking with Apple, and at the time, everybody was picturing Tim Cook with a sandwich halfway to his mouth going, what? Who? But it looks like, actually, the Conservative government then may well have tried this. They just didn't have even the pretense of a legal backing. So last year, the government changed the law in the UK to allow them to do what they want.
Right.
And now they've done this kind of thing, which I am vehemently against. But there you go.
Yeah, we'll see how this all plays out. It's all very early, but of course, this kind of information will be shared in the controversy corner. We're going to be talking about a few things going on this week. Later in the show, you'll see that as a chapter marker, and if you don't want to hear about world news and how Apple affects politics, you can skip that chapter. But first, here we are, iPhone 16e. As you listen, it's arriving in people's hands. We have the initial reviews, people trying out the cellular modem, and even rumors about the future. What do you think of this device, William? I know we talked a little bit about it this week, but now it's sunk in a little bit. We've had time to think.
I have actually changed my mind a little. My first impression was that it was quite a special iPhone. What it was offering for the price, I thought it was so much more than an iPhone SE4. I thought it was a good thing. And yet, I mean, as we record this, I don't have one in my hand yet and can't see one. But everything I've read about it sounds like, yeah, but lots of things missing that I know I would care about, but actually I don't think necessarily the people who would buy the iPhone 16e would. I mean, you know, there's a criticism there was even straight away about the lack of MagSafe and ultra-wideband tracking and things like this. I think people who are making that criticism are forgetting that there are 4 other iPhone 16s who do have those if you want them. And Apple very clearly, we said this before, it's so plain, they were aiming it at iPhone 11 and 12 users. And iPhone 11 at least didn't have MagSafe, the old iPhone SE didn't. So it's one of these things again where once you know something, it's hard to give it up. I wouldn't like to go away without MagSafe. But if you've never had it, I still think it's a good phone.
Yeah, people aren't exactly going from a MagSafe phone to a non-MagSafe phone, but it could happen. The thing is there's still people out there who own an iPhone 12 or later that don't even know what MagSafe is, doesn't even realize that there's a magnet on the back of their phone that occasionally picks up their keys, right? Like,
yes.
It's one of those things that people who write about this stuff, people like us, tend to hold on to a lot of features and ideas because we are surrounded by them. We think about them, we involve ourselves in them, but generally speaking, there's people who still don't even know that control center's there because they've never swiped down from the top right corner of their phone. And just every now and then they find themselves in there and wonder, like, what is this magical interface I've never seen before? It's just a thing that happens.
And to be completely fair, there's no reason they should. Apple doesn't tell you control center's there. I mean, at least at the launch it might mention MagSafe, but it avoided mentioning it this time. So you know these things or you don't, and I often wonder. At some point, it always used to be that Apple stuff just worked, and now I still like that it kind of keeps complexity away as much as it can. But it's no longer the case that you can just do everything straight away. There is more to learn. And doubtlessly, there are features I don't ever use on the iPhone that I would if I knew about them. Yeah.
People just forget what people don't know. And, like, I was helping someone with their Android phone, and this person is definitely not technologically inclined. They have a phone simply because they want to access social media where their family is. And they have trouble reading, so they want to use the magnifier. Finding the magnifier in Android is not hard, but not easy, because it's technically an app, but only if you surface it through a setting, and it's complicated. So what they've done is found a way. I think they probably saw an ad on Facebook advertising a magnifier that they didn't know their phone already had. They clicked on it, and it automatically side-loaded a launcher, an entire Android operating system launcher that added a magnifying glass to a accessibility button, but it changed the operation of the entire phone and started installing ads to the lock screen.
Wow.
So this is what we're talking about. General population is not dealing with the stuff on the same level that we are. Someone walking into the Apple store and saying, "What's your cheapest phone? I'll take it," doesn't care about MagSafe. If they knew about MagSafe, maybe they'll be like, "Oh, where'd my magnets go? I'll just buy a case." They don't care that Qi charging is half the speed of regular MagSafe. They don't care that Wave 5G isn't in this device, or Wi-Fi 7, whatever that is, right? They don't care. And sometimes the reviewers need to take a step back and realize that. And on our review roundup, it looks like many of them have, which is good.
Oh, good.
Did you see MKBHD's video?
No, I didn't. Is he pro or against?
Well, it's actually he is so good at production these days. He always has been, but the whole crew putting things together is fun. They did a skit where he is playing himself as a tech store guy and himself as a customer. And the customer comes in wearing a fake mustache, asking about an iPhone. And every time he listed a spec he wanted, he'd be like, "Oh, we have the iPhone 15 for that. You know what? You want this? Oh, iPhone 15 Pro." And then he kept listing more and more specific specs until he got to the iPhone 16e. And it's like, no one on earth has ever asked for this before, but we do have it. And it was a clever skit, because it's like, yeah, we want a notch, no promotion, also USB-C, an action button, OLED display, and I want Apple Intelligence, but no MagSafe. And it's just like, who are you? And it was quite good. But it's true. If you know these things and you walk into an Apple store asking for these specific specs, you're a madman. But it's not for you. It's not for us. It's for people who don't know any better and don't care, and that's fine.
Yeah. It's nobody's, well, I was going to say it's nobody's job to care, but actually I suppose it is for Apple Store employees and to an extent for us as well. But everybody else, your Android friend, this is a very similar but smaller case. I worked on a friend's MacBook Air the other day, filling out a complicated grant application form, and she'd written everything in Pages, did not know you could Command Tab between Pages and Safari. Brilliant. She actually stopped me, put her hand on my arm and said, "How are you doing that?" And I realised, who would tell her if I didn't happen to do it in front of her? There's so much. I mean, I spend at least 10 hours a day in front of these machines, and I've done for decades, so you'd expect me to know more than somebody new. But if I didn't, how would we find out? Other than, suddenly thought of a plug here, the very good tips on Apple Insider. Just search for how-to and something at appleiinsider.com and you're away. I should have told her that. Okay.
My mother learned about copy and paste in around 2021. So, I mean, it's just...
Wow.
Things just aren't apparent to people. Those menus aren't there. You have to press the text, and you have to press it again and have the menu. Who knows to do that? Like, these are not... They're intuitive to people who are native computer users, right?
Yes.
I always find it funny when people say it's intuitive. It's like, yeah, you come out of the womb knowing how to use Windows XP. Like, that's not what it's not
Yes.
at all intuitive unless you're taught. So I think it defeats the purpose of the word, but I get what you're saying. To people who know how to use computers, it is intuitive. You know what a hamburger menu is. Most people don't. They probably think you're silly saying the word hamburger menu. But in any case, I think this device is smart. Apple could not continue selling an iPhone budget at $429 with these specs. Introducing a new device at a new price makes sense. If you want a device below this price, there's plenty of older generations and a used market and a refurbished market that will cover your needs. You can get a $200 iPhone today that still has 2 or 3 years of updates left. It's fine.
I read a headline, so I think it was on Bloomberg, that Apple has abandoned the low-cost iPhone market. Apple has never been in the low-cost iPhone market. You told me about last week about the iPhone 5C being $200, so I suppose that counts. But how many years ago was that? Apple doesn't do low-cost.
No, but that's the thing. It's also wrong. Apple may not sell these devices, but people buy them. They're buying them from somewhere. It's just Apple is not in that market. They let other people handle that market. Apple, they're not like Steve Jobs used to be, because Steve Jobs wouldn't still have the iPhone 15 for sale today, because as soon as the new thing comes out, everything else before it is dead to Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
That's just how he worked. Apple allows a couple of fragments on the back end to remain because Tim Cook is very efficient as a supply chain advisor, and having these things in the inventory to sell at a lower price is still getting them money and a much wider margin because they're so cheap to make. But looking at these devices, there's really, it's kind of funny. You go into a Walmart right now and they'll have like an iPhone 12. I'm not even joking. Still sold, technically new. I mean, I've heard people in our circles talking about, I just bought an iPhone the other day and it was only $200. Or someone said, they did a trade-in, and the trade-in was so good on their iPhone that they basically got last year's model for $5, right? So, yes, Apple is not in the low-end market, but people who need that market have plenty of access to iPhones if they know where to look. And I think that's smart, and Apple knows this. Why sell a $450 iPhone when that has almost no good features, no modern features, when you can just spend $450 on last year's iPhone in a used market? It's just silly. But moving on, I did want to point out, I had some people say iPhone 16e doesn't mean there's going to be an iPhone 17e. This is just going to be around for 3 years, and Apple will update it when they feel like it. And my argument is, it's terrible marketing to have an iPhone 16 for sale when the iPhone 19 is out. It just...
Except as we've just said, they until very recently the iPhone 14 was around. I mean, like last week it was around. Apple does keep a tail, so you could make it work, but it would sound peculiar. Yeah,
those devices are discounted. Apple doesn't discount a device unless a new model is available. So the iPhone 16e for $600 next to the iPhone 19 would not make sense. It just wouldn't.
Then how about in coming September, and the range is the iPhone 17 Plus, Pro Max, and still the 16e. Would you wear that, or do you think they're going to change then too?
No, they're just not going to touch it. But this is where, that's okay because it's still quote unquote last year's phone, and I have a feeling the iPhone 17 is going to be more expensive. But in any case, maybe $250 more, maybe $300 more than the 16e. So there will be some reason to continue looking at that phone, even though its spec-wise will be much less than the 17, and maybe discounted 16s would be a better deal than the 16e at that point. I don't know that Apple will lower the price then. It's questionable, but that doesn't matter because the people who are buying the 17e or the 16e still don't care. The people they don't even know when the new iPhone's coming. We know
Sure.
it's every September. They don't know that. They just know there's a new iPhone every year. And sometimes when they walk into the Verizon, there's a new iPhone on the table, and they're like, "Huh, that's neat. Give me the cheaper one." And I think the 17E makes sense. There's some rumors pointing out its existence, and I think that's going to happen. The 16E will just disappear, and the 17E will step into its place.
Well, the rumours I've seen are, I mean, they're very, very slight. There were two. One saying they'd seen a listing in some sort of filing, and unless it's internal Apple filing, it's far too early for it to be regulatory or stuff. And the other one was, I forgot the name of the group, it's a consumer research group that never tells you its sources or its SERP. Thank you. I mean, it breaks things down statistically without a basis of the stats, and it's just maddening. So all they've said is it's coming. Nobody has proof. But
I think it's Instant Focus Digital, and that person is hit and miss, but when it comes to code names and stuff, they do it. And this leak is iPhone 17e already has a code name. They didn't provide the code name. They just said, "Hey, it's in production." So we'll see. That one's been right on a few occasions more recently, and so but also it just makes sense that there would be a 17e. But we'll see what happens.
There does, but you surprised me by saying you expect it to be quite a bit more expensive. Why do you think that?
The 17 series?
17e compared to the 16.
No, the 17e will be the same price. It's the 17 Pro, Pro Max Slim. The 17 lineup is going to be a higher price than the 16 lineup.
Right. Okay, I was just I bounce back and forth between will I upgrade or won't I, and you've just put me back in the won't now. But Apple will do their best to convince me come September. Yeah.
It feels like if it's not a $50, probably $100 push from the base. Maybe certain storage tiers won't get touched, but I think all the base prices are going to get pushed up a little bit because we're about to see a lot of expenses going up because of tariffs and other political issues, and and it's probably time. Apple does raise its phone prices every now and then. I think they'll still want to try to hit that magical under $1,000 range with certain phones, but that's why the 16e exists, right? They're still hitting. You can still get an iPhone for under $800. Look, see, don't worry about these other prices going up. We have the budget phone. It's the same thing that happened. The iPhone SE came out, and then the very next year, the first $1,000 iPhone was released. So, just saying, there's a pattern here.
Suddenly remembering, there was a point where everybody expected Apple to increase the prices. I can't remember. It was not last year. It might have been the year before.
15.
And Apple made a really strong point actually in the launch summit of saying we have not put it up, which was very, very nice if you're in America, because they did put it up everywhere else. And since I am everywhere else, I was a bit annoyed at that. Yes.
Global headwinds is what they're called, and Apple's fighting against them with those price raises. But this time we have something more like local headwinds. I don't know if that's a phrase, but yes, we'll get into that more later. But moving on from iPhone 16, we've spent plenty of time there. iOS 18.4 finally got revealed.
Yay.
Kind of.
Sort of a bit. I leapt at the upgrade button the moment it came through, thinking, I know there have been rumours that Siri wouldn't have its new things yet, but this is when it's supposed to happen. Let me have it. And I haven't really noticed a lot of difference. Well, I like Apple News Plus food that's come along with it. That's
so.
Nice.
First off, at least in Beta 1, this could change. App intents for the new smarter personal Siri, personal Apple Intelligence is not there and may not be there till 18.5. It's still technically coming in this release cycle. We've not heard cancellations, just delay rumors. But it could still arrive in a later beta. We don't know. This time period is a crunch. Apple's probably moved it back because they probably intended 18.4 to be a later release and then realized they needed to get something out in 18.4 and then push those features back to 18.5. But one of the things that is new is Apple Intelligence in Apple Vision Pro, which I'm just going to say, I told you guys from the day they announced Apple Intelligence, that moment that we recorded the podcast, the articles I was writing just wait, it's coming. I know it took a while, but they were never not going to put it in the Apple Vision Pro. And I believe there were some little birdies at Apple not on record saying, yeah, it's coming. We just had to prioritize other things first. So it's here, and it works.
There's one thing I don't understand, Inspector. What does it give you?
Writing tools, image playgrounds, emoji, Genmoji. We also, but what's missing, there is a couple of things missing from this initial beta, which, again, beta. Nothing Siri related is changed. It is still the same Siri bubble, and it is still the same interface. I can't ask it to go to ChatGPT, though ChatGPT is here in the writing tools and other places. So it's like they introduced everything, because there was 3 phases, right, of Apple Intelligence, and all 3 phases are in the Apple Vision Pro. They just did not add anything related to Siri or notifications, which are both very complex for the Apple Vision Pro, because so much is done with the voice and so much is done, and the notifications are so different. So I can see why those are excluded for now, but everything else is here, and they all work. And the writing tools and stuff get their own Vision Pro-y interface, which is nice.
I was going to ask you about notifications, because I am finding that very useful. Priority notifications, the summaries of it. I mean, occasionally, it tells you the wrong thing. It's not hallucinated, but it's got the wrong end of the stick, shall we say. But most of the time, I'm finding the summaries really useful. But you don't get them. You don't get them in Apple Vision Pro.
No, but I do like the notifications, and I do like the summaries in mail and messages and stuff. But I want to, I would say don't fret too much about the app intent stuff. We did hear about Alexa Plus, which restarts the conversation of look how behind Apple is, and I wonder again where these people are coming from, because Alexa's not released yet. We did see some fun demos and very interesting concepts. I wonder how it's going to work in practice. Alexa has never worked for me how the commercials show Alexa working. So it's every time I've ever tried to use it, it has been an absolute train wreck, where you're just repeating yourself 40 times until you're cussing into the speaker 3 inches from your face in order to try and get it to add soap to your grocery list. Now, luckily, I've never had to deal with that. It's just I've been in households who have Alexa that are like, hey, look at this cool thing you can do. And then they end up in a fist fight with their speaker. Right. So I've never had that much problem with my smart assistant from Apple, but whatever. It's not really that kind of we're not in these weird tribal fights from the 2016 era, but still, it is funny to see every time someone announces something, look how behind Apple is. It's like, guys, they're playing a different game, right? I am excited to see what this LLM series is going to look like in iOS 19, which probably won't come until iOS 20 anyway, just at the rate Apple's been going with these things. But I still wouldn't say behind. I made this call months ago, and I'll make it again now. What are you doing with these things, chat GPTs and stuff that's changing your life? That's just these remarkable, futuristic, because you can make some silly images, you can make it generate wrong information, but like, what are you actually getting from it that maybe you're not getting from Apple Intelligence? Because for me, none of that other junk did anything for me, but Apple Intelligence has made a difference in my day-to-day life, between saving time with summaries and triage of information, and writing tools letting me ditch a very expensive editing service, instead using Proofread for my text. So,
in defense of AI, I needed to research a new topic the other day, and I asked Perplexity to give me a list of the top 20 companies in the UK that work in this, and then having done that, give me their websites and contact addresses for it. And I actually haven't done any more of the work since then, but when I checked through, they all seemed to be accurate. Nothing was a hallucination yet. And occasionally sorting out lists, certain bits of text problems, converting stuff into HTML lists and things, just doing it for me. Well, little bits and pieces. And also, I've just realised this, saying it to you, I no longer use Google for searches. I use AI searches, but...
Well, see, and that's what's interesting. I never used Google in the first place, and I have DuckDuckGo as my default browser, and I guess you can use an extension to get ChatGPT. There's something there going on, but the GPT stuff, especially since you can use it through Apple Intelligence, that's nice because I would have never used it before. But now knowing that my information is secure, like Apple's doing it in a way that's safe and smart, so I do have access to that. And for research and very specific queries, yeah, that's cool. And again, Apple gave me access to that. Now, Apple didn't build ChatGPT, but I think it's funny how people automatically discount what Apple's done so far and say, look at all these cool promised things that don't work yet, and say, look how behind Apple is. I understand the Alexa Plus stuff is coming soon and will be in the real world, and then we'll get to see how it actually works. Maybe it'll be amazing. It looks interesting and it looks personal, but I guarantee you they're collecting every breadth of information that they can get out of you. Like, I would never use anything by Amazon again at this point, just because of how horrific they are with data collection and use. But neat, cool, I guess. But I'm fine with being patient. Apple did not have to release anything last year. I think all the talk about Apple is behind did convince someone internally to say, you know what, we are working on this. Let's go ahead and get something out there. And they did it slowly. And now we're talking about LLM coming to Apple's Assistant and stuff later this year. But why is that still Apple is behind when Amazon Alexa just made their announcement today of doing anything in this space?
Oh, good point.
And suddenly they're ahead. What is that? Tech coverage on this stuff is always funny to me. But in any case, we'll move on. Apple News Plus food.
Yes.
I like this.
Yes. I've actually just, about a week before this came out, I bought Paprika 3 again for the iPhone. I used to use it years and years ago, and I've been using it for cooking. And now I'm thinking, well, possibly I shouldn't have bothered because all the recipes I like are in Apple News Plus food. But the way it presents them, I particularly like the instructions. I don't know what it is about the font. It's like the same thing you see with Apple Music lyrics, just particularly clear and large without being ugly and large. It's just, tastefully useful. Yeah.
Apple News Plus food coming to an Apple Home Hub device very soon, I'm sure. This makes sense.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
that does. Oh, do you think that's why Apple made a point of saying that although food is part of Apple News Plus, the subscription service, that some articles and some recipes would be made available to everybody? You think they're trying to seed it for a home hub?
You got to give everyone a little taste. I mean, nobody knows what News Plus is. They barely knows what Apple News is, the app. I've slowly been teaching a couple of people, like, if you want to see what's breaking, go here, top stories, bam, there you go. It's like RSS, but they manage half of it for you. You can follow people, but it's still very much managed on Apple's end as well. The thing is, this is the New York Times playbook, all right? Puzzles, recipes, news, but it's all under one app and one section. I guess it's one of those things where I don't remember who did this. Maybe it was a Disney Plus ad, but I'm remembering an ad where it's like, this name plus this, and it was just going down the list of all the things it offers. Well, now I'm just seeing in my head Apple News Plus news, sports, food, puzzles, right? It's plus puzzles plus news. Cool. I like that they're expanding this, but I wonder if they're maybe doing themselves a disservice not having this accessible from externally. There needs to be launchers or widgets at least to get you directly to that section from outside the news app, because it is buried. You have to go to the news app, go to the far right tab, then click on food, then click on available recipes. Then you can start seeing recipes separate, because the food section is a lifestyle section. It's not just recipes. It'll tell you stuff about food and taking care of your home, but you have to specifically go to the recipe section to get that part. So it's just buried 4 levels into an app that probably everyone's deleted from their phone already. I hope Apple does something here to push it, because I'd hate to see it go away because of no one using it. Well, there is the magazine section, so I guess nobody's using that and it's still there, so maybe it'll survive.
I'm using the odd magazine article. I haven't in a while, but I remember it's there. One thing I should say, because we mentioned puzzles there, I suppose we won't know this for certain until it's publicly released, but it appears that Apple News Plus food is going to be worldwide, because
Yes.
all these years in, the puzzles are still not available here in the UK, for example. Yeah, we get the sport, so, thanks for that, but not the puzzles. But we have food. So.
This is what's odd. Apple News is a weird subsection of Apple. The Stocks app is a part of Apple News, but it's also Stocks. Sports is a part of the Apple News app, but it's Sports. I could see puzzles and food becoming their own apps. I know Apple probably doesn't need 5 more apps on their phone. It's just maybe some people want recipes and not news, right? Maybe you don't want to have to see the latest terrible thing in the world when you're just trying to make a pie, right? Because it opens it to the news page, and you're going to see those headlines before you get to the food section. So I do wonder if now there are shortcuts. Matthew Cassinelli has already put out a few, taking you directly to different sections of Apple News.
No, I didn't know that. That's really useful. I was an extremely heavy News Plus user until the elections last year, both of them, UK and US, and I can't handle real world news at the moment. So my usage has dropped like a ton. But you're saying I can just go straight to the Doctor Who section? I'm having that. Yeah.
Well, that should be doable through what are they called? The URL things, but yes,
Callback
Matthew
URLs.
Yeah. Matthew Cassinelli has already put together a few shortcuts that'll take you directly to different sections of the food section, and you can then create custom icons, add it to your home screen, and then bam, there you go. And of course, as a reminder, since we're talking about Apple News, go to Settings, go to Apple News, and then you can turn off everything. Basically, you can say, "Show me only things I follow," and get rid of. And that basically gets rid of your top news and related articles. All of it will just be gone, and the only things that you follow. So it'll basically turn Apple News into kind of a smarter RSS feed, if you want to go that route. I prefer having access to all of the information, so I have it turned on. But if you're wanting to avoid all that and maybe just want to see video game news and food, you can hit that toggle and go. I do like the presentation. I like that it shows the ingredients and the instructions. There's also you can bookmark it and save your recipes in a specific section. This is a very well done recipe app, and I think recipe apps might be sweating a little bit. Now, if you're a full-on cook who wants to organize and categorize all this stuff and edit your recipes, this is not for you. This is the usual Apple approach of it gets the job done, and most people will be happy with it, but power users will not. So Paprika, Crouton, these other apps will still be... I don't think Crouton's actually a cooking app, is it? These will actually be fine, but I am interested in playing around with this. 2 things I would like to see from this in the future. Let me export ingredients into my reminders shopping list, grocery list. It makes total sense. Apple synergy at work. They should work together.
I should say Paprika does that, so why not Apple's own? Yes, I agree, absolutely.
Yeah. To Apple's own built grocery list, and let me export it in a way that makes sense to third-party food tracking apps.
Oh yes,
so that I can log my meal that I just made from Apple Recipes. Now, one thing this brings to mind, we've talked about it before. I wonder if Apple is going to get into direct log to health from different aspects of its system. Apple food, like Apple News Food, being able to log directly to health, that could be interesting. And
no, that could be terrifying. It would record all the chocolate I ate. No.
But yeah, the selfie camera sees you with a chocolate bar and automatically logs it to Apple Health. So that's the dystopian future that William is scared of. More in Apple News, Apple Insider Plus, of course.
Okay.
No, but I could see Apple getting into more of this stuff, but we'll see. Anyway, I think Food Noms is still perfect, and it would be hard to replace it entirely, but I wouldn't mind having Apple suggesting different things. Like, if it sees that I have a Bluetooth water bottle, maybe let me skip the app entirely and just automatically log the water. Like, there's ways this could work, but moving past that, because we have a lot to talk about. iPhone 17. We've got a little bit into 17e, but there's more about the main line here.
Yeah, mostly about the cameras on the back. And I know you've written about this. And so basically, what's up with the cameras on the back?
So we have a leak from someone who is more reliable than those guys. Not perfect record, but reliable, Sonny Dixon. And here he's shown a render of a clear case on the back of one of these iPhones with the camera bar. For some reason, this made it click in my brain. I think the reason why I rejected Prosser's renders is because they're not great. Now, I'm not saying the render artist was bad. They're perfectly good renders. They just don't look like an iPhone to me. And this is still a bit rough around the edges, especially render-wise. But coming from this particular leaker, I can trust it a little bit more. And it got me thinking, why would Apple do this? So I have a whole article going through, if this is going to happen, this is why Apple would do it. Because Pixel actually explained, Google Pixel explained why they have camera bars. So it makes sense. It's a space-saving thing. Does that mean it's going to happen? I don't know. I'm still of the mind that this is probably all from early EVT stuff. Maybe some case manufacturers are getting ahead of themselves. I'm waiting on Gurman and Ming-Chi Kuo to say something before I really just 100% yeah, this is happening. And I will also make the argument, whatever Apple does with this thing, they're going to make it look good. I mean, I hope so anyway. People have argued Apple's made ugly iPhones. I guess there's maybe a few more ugly than others, but a camera bar is weird, but Apple could pull it off, I hope, anyway.
Because I read your article, you basically say I'm wrong to think this, but my first thought about a camera bar was, well, basically it was just, yeah, okay. But the second one was, surely a bar at the top of the back of the camera, of the iPhone, would mean that when you put it down on the table, it rests at an angle rather than wobbling on the camera bump we've got now. But you say, no, it's still going to wobble for it. Why are they doing that to me?
Yeah, the cameras would still stick out further than the bump. So what's happening here is the space savings isn't for the camera. The space savings is for the rest of the phone. So if we follow the rumors, Ming-Chi Kuo has come close to saying there's a camera bump, but he has still not said it, or a camera bar. He said that the iPhone 17 at its thinnest part will be around 5.5 millimeters, which is incredibly thin. But thinnest part sounds like a MacBook Air. Apple doesn't build tapered iPhones. So what does he mean? Normally, measurements don't take into account the camera bump at all. But if the entire top portion of the phone is a specific thickness and the rest of it is another thickness, then I could see why Kuo would go this route with his phrasing. So maybe there is a camera bar, and that phone being so thin is due to it existing. What is it providing? So it's providing space for bigger, better sensors, maybe a 48 megapixel sensor on the telephoto lens, maybe improved tetraprism that would allow better zoom capabilities. Also OIS, optical image stabilization. Those are motors moving the camera around. That takes up a lot of space. And then moving the flash further away, the LiDAR and the microphone further away from the cameras, giving more space to all that equipment. It isn't that far, actually. Look at the back. If you have an iPhone 16 Pro, not a Pro Max, just a Pro, it's already something like 65% across the back of the phone already. So it's not much further to actually stretch that camera bar all the way to the edge. So I could see it happening for that reason. So cramming all that into that bar, giving more space to the internal components, which would be more battery. I could see them putting a little shelf of battery up there to just increase it by a few more milliamp hours. Stuff like that would be possible because of this, while maintaining ultra thinness. And now 5.5 millimeters, of course, is referring to the iPhone 17 Slim. The other devices would be thicker, but the iPhone 17 or iPhone 16 Pro Max is 8.3 millimeters. They could shave any amount off of that and it would be desirable. So I don't know. What do you think of this explanation? Does it make sense?
I suppose, but you said OIS in the middle of that, and I'm off on one thinking surely that was a Black Ops thing in the Second World War for it. So I'm not being a lot of use there, but or was it the organisation in the $6 Million Man? You see, I see why you talk to me every week. I'm so useful with this. I know of the two of us, you always buy the new iPhone, and you actually say it's specifically because of the cameras, and we know every year there is something different and better about the cameras. I'm less fussed about cameras because I don't really understand them, and I don't take a lot of photographs, I think. So none of this concerns me very much, apart from how much thinner they'll be, and I just don't see that it could be so much thinner that I would notice it. Although you heard me hesitate there, I was thinking when the last iPads came out, particularly the OLED iPad Pro, that seems so thin, so light as air kind of stuff. Maybe it'll wow me. But will it wow me on the presentation, or will I have to actually see one in someone's hands before I can lust after it?
Now, I did have a little proposition in this article just for fun. I don't think there's really enough space for this, especially on these Pro models with these gigantic cameras. But I did want to point out that camera bars aren't always used for cameras. There are Android phones like the Xiaomi Mi 11 that it's funny they actually abandoned it in the later models. So this model was the last one with this. But there's a display in the camera bump that shows information like battery life, incoming calls. Oh. I could see widgets there. This could be amazing for live activities. Apple could totally throw a tiny little display, even if it's not as big as Xiaomi's display, like because it's a giant rectangular bar. There isn't a lot of room back there, but when I saw Prosser's render, and he keeps talking about it being two-tone, well, why would it be two-tone? The glass part being black and then the phone itself being whatever color the phone is. Could it be because the black portion is going to be used for some sort of display? Could you imagine having little bits of information on the back of your phone?
Yes. Well, could I? Most of the time, I avoid putting my phone down face down on the glass for it. So for the giant majority of the time, it just wouldn't be in front of me.
Maybe it... Like the way these folding phones use it is like you can see yourself when you're taking a photo, right? You can use the back cameras as a selfie camera now because,
that'd be good. Framing purposes. Actually, that'd be very handy. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yes, I would actually change to that. Yes. Well, you turned me around in 30 seconds, didn't you? Okay.
But yes, face down is a problem without a case. I use a magnetic back, so problem. I have no rim around the display, but I don't know. It's intriguing to me. I don't think it's going to happen. I just wanted to point out that it does exist. It's just Apple could do all kinds of wacky things. Customers like different, and a camera bar is certainly different. And I think accessories could get really interesting because if the camera bar is there and MagSafe is below it, you could start seeing these interesting little systems that take advantage of the camera bar for leverage. I'm very interested in this. Of course, there's so much more to get into with iPhone 17 rumors. We'll have plenty of time before September to get into it. But the idea that part of the rim and part of the back will be titanium, and then the center where MagSafe is will be an aluminum glass hybrid, like stuff like that is fascinating. I'm hopeful that case manufacturers would take advantage of this large camera bar. And some people would build a thickness of the camera bar, making it flush to the case, which I could see happening very, very easily. And then, of course, you'd still have the camera bump sticking out. But I don't know. There's ways this could be interesting. I had an initial poor reaction because the renders just made the phone look ugly. But yes, I think Apple will, as usual, do a better job than the renders. I still think we can't trust Prosser because his history is awful, but we'll see what happens. Maybe he's right this time. But I'm just very curious as to when our more reliable, more accurate sources are going to get in on this camera bar thing.
That thing you said about Ming Chi Kuo coming close to it, you don't think he's for some reason, having to avoid saying it, and it's just eluding as much as you can. It's just, I mean, it might be a translation thing.
Well, it's a little bit my mistake here too, because the iPhone 17 Slim Air, whatever. For some reason, people started calling it the Air suddenly instead of Slim. I don't know where that came from, but this device it's not going to have a camera bar. It's actually going to have a bump that kind of protrudes downward in a shape with a flash or whatever next to it. So it's actually the only one without a camera bar, but I still think that Quo's phrasing is still very weirdly specific when referring to the thinnest part of the phone. These other devices, of course, having camera bars. So the iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and 17 Pro Max would have these bars. And we've seen the different ones, the Pro and Pro Max having the larger 3-camera system, and then the the standard iPhone having a long bar with 2 cameras side by side. I don't know. It's all very weird. I don't see that one happening so much because if you're going to record spatial video, you're not going to do it vertically. So that design doesn't make sense. So there's still a lot of weirdness here. Why would Apple do a vertical camera and then a camera bar across the entire back of the phone on the standard iPhone 17? Some of these CAD designs and leaks don't make sense as we have them today. We'll just maybe Apple could abandon the second camera on the standard iPhone 17. Who knows? But I don't see that happening because, again, spatial video needs to become more available, not less. So,
sorry, 2 thoughts. One is I'm reasonably sure it was John Prosser who came up with the Air name. I'm not certain, but I think so. And the other one is the 3-camera system. I never fully understand which camera I'm using. I just take the shot and I might zoom in a bit, I might not, because I prefer walking up closer. But which camera takes which lens and which setting, and the 2-in-1 version of the 16E, honestly, I think it's beyond me. Yeah,
it's more like 7 cameras in your pocket, William. No, I think the key here is you're not supposed to know, because sometimes you could be in the range of the 0.5 lens, but it could be too dim. So instead, they're going to try and do some weird macro focus cropping, versus if you're above 2x, you should be in the telephoto lens, but it's the noise is too high, so they're just going to crop into the main sensor. Like, there's all kinds of different decisions being made here. But I do have a question. How do you feel about a doorbell with MagSafe?
Well, I have a fundamental problem with video doorbells at all, because of this thing of, if Apple does it, they will link it to Apple TV. I'm in the middle of watching Silo, and up pops an Amazon delivery guy face going, "Hello, who's there?" You're ruining the drama. You know, nothing against Amazon people, just against the whole of humanity coming to the front door. But the MagSafe part of it, I don't really understand what it would give me. I don't have. Is it a charging thing? So it's every now and again I pop it on a MagSafe thing to do something.
I'm really confused by this because leaker Kosutami, who usually gets a hold of EVT, so those are the.
Sorry, what is EVT?
Good question, and it's some sort of something, but it is
It's the T technology. Hang on, sorry. Well, it's EVT just called for Siri. My phone is actually off, and it decided to do that. Right, go away. Okay, right. Yes, EVT. It's wonderful.
Evaluation. It's a prototype is the word.
Oh,
for
an evaluation verification test. Would that make
sense?
Sense?
Pulled that off the top of your head, but
I did actually. Okay. We'll find out if I'm right later. Yes. Okay.
So finally, they landed on MagSafe. Why would a doorbell have MagSafe? So I have a smart doorbell from Logitech, and it has the ability to do this emergency power thing. And I never thought about it before, but what's so critical about a doorbell that you need emergency power? Right? Like, I understand emergency power in a lock because you need to get into your door. But emergency power in a doorbell, MagSafe attaching it, okay, then someone could just grab your doorbell and walk away with it, right? So there's something here. My only guess is, now bear with me, reverse wireless charging on the iPhone 17 Pro, allowing you to get quick emergency access to power. Maybe there's a blackout and your camera is no longer powered, but you being the tech-savvy HomeKit nerd that you are, you've somehow set it up so you can only go in your front door if Face ID is verified, then unlock. So even home key doesn't work. The only way you get in your house is through Face ID from your doorbell. Well, your power's out, so you can't get into your house. So you slap your phone onto the doorbell via MagSafe. It gives it enough power to verify your face, and then you get into your house, right? I don't know. There's something to this. It'll be interesting to see. Some people postulated maybe it's a MagSafe battery and you just remove one battery, go charge it via MagSafe and attach it. I don't know. Because battery-powered doorbell would be great. A lot of people can't install wired doorbells. And how would you get a charge on it? Maybe you go slap Apple's non-existent MagSafe battery pack on it and recharge it once a month. Who knows? But still interesting nevertheless, because obviously it seems to use MagSafe, whereas the iPhone 16e does not. That's where all the coils went, William, is Apple's doorbell. Right.
I actually do have a camera on the doorbell, and I have to charge it up every now and again, and I always forget. So I'll suddenly be told, I'm not working anymore. It'll slow down suddenly. And it's not like it doesn't give me a month's notice on this, and still I let it go. So the ability to go, right now, this second, it's gone, 2 minutes on MagSafe, it'll last for the rest of the day. That has a certain appeal.
In the interest of not running long this week, because we are getting to the end of the show, I'll point out a couple things. One, William, you hate Siri. You have a whole diatribe on how it's just getting worse, when it should be getting better.
No, I have a hate-hate relationship with it. I think
yes.
Siri is amazing. It is absolutely stunningly wonderful. But the number of times it goes wrong is particularly aggravating. And for some reason, since 18.4, it's been going wrongerer. For some reason, things it could do easily before, it is entirely failing. I mean, I agree with you by going long. Just very quickly, how's the rest of my day looking was the phrase that would give you the rest of your calendar for today. And without fail, Siri will now say, you have 25 events between now and March something about the next month. Whether or not you have 25 as well. 4 weeks, when asked for a day, 25, whether or not it's 25. And I just...
Something yes. Internally is going on, right? Like you're noticing certain queries going wrong. John Gruber is talking about how Siri can't answer any questions unless it's about Super Bowl like 32 or something. It's very weird. I've noticed that in the beta, the ChatGPT integration is pretty much dead. I don't know what happened there. So, but of course, beta is going to beta. But yeah, I'm still not as down on Apple's Assistant as some people are. Some people just outright hate the thing. I still use it all the time to control my home, listen to music. But I'll agree with you. General knowledge and things it should do or things it used to be able to do, not working now, is frustrating. And I hope that this weird transition goes by quickly. We're in the broken butterfly keyboard era of Siri. And
oh, that was harsh. Totally fair, but yeah, harsh. Okay, right.
And if you want a full-length feature of close-ups of Bono in 8K, you're going to get it on the Apple Vision Pro. Moving on, I'm joking. I'll probably watch it. I don't know. It's a documentary. There's like 3 good songs from U2 that I enjoy, so maybe they'll play those. I mean, they have
you're in a harsh mood today. Yeah.
Okay. Let me say they have an astounding history as a band, but it's Dad Yacht Rock and Tim Cook is obsessed with them, and fine. I enjoy a couple, like the ones that I can't even name them, but the ones that that are the U2 hit songs, I enjoy those fine. They're fine.
Yeah. But you're more a Kanye kind of guy. That's what you're telling me. Yeah.
No. Go listen to Alabama Shakes. But yes, I'll check out this documentary. It might be interesting. I might fall asleep with my Vision Pro headset on, but we'll see. I did want to get to this last bit because there is some news. We have a lot of links here, but it's actually like 2 stories that actually took place here. So, listeners, this is your warning. We're getting into our little controversy corner because there are some people who just don't want to hear it. So you can feel free to go to the next chapter and we'll have another story before we close up the show. So
Can I do that? Can I skip? No, I really hope controversy corner. Why do I struggle with that phrase? Is not a regular thing, but I think it's going to be because news is news. But I'm ready. Hit me.
And there's a lot of news happening right now, and again, a lot of links, but not much to say. So first off, it felt like 6 stories in a row over the course of about 24 hours. Apple's DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives have been preserved by the shareholders, followed up by Tim Cook saying they intend to continue operating with integrity and that they will only change anything unless required by law. And then immediately Donald Trump posted on Truth Social saying, you better change it because I hate DEI and you're stupid, or I don't remember what he said exactly, but something like that. And okay, I'll just say what he said because I'm sure people are rolling their eyes. Apple should get rid of DEI rules, not just make adjustments to them. DEI was a hoax that has been very bad for our country. DEI is gone, which, of course, is wrong on almost every count. DEI has proven by almost every study and every metric to contributed to improving businesses and profits and just making companies better overall. And it is not gone. The federal government has not issued anything that says that private corporations have to get rid of it. Only the federal government has to get rid of it due to a executive order signed by the president, and no such law has been passed. So, sure, Apple has no compulsion to actually do anything about this, but because of the same things we were dealing with the Gulf of Mexico, enough pressure might build that Apple has to change a few words in some of their documents to eliminate the words DEI, but nothing's going to stop them from continuing these same practices, which, by the way, I found out Apple doesn't do hiring based on ethnicities or sex. Their DEI culture is very different, but it is still DEI in a way of ensuring that enough diverse voices are heard in every component of Apple. So I recommend everyone go look into that because I found that very interesting.
Can I just say, yay for DEI? So there you go.
Yeah. Well, DEI is also hiring veterans and single mothers and hiring people who have, I don't know, been homeless before. Like having different perspectives in your community is what DEI is. Having diversity of thought is what DEI is. And Apple has always been about this, whether or not it was in their paperwork or not. So it's not going away. Even if on paper they have to change some words to appease a president, it's not going anywhere. It's always served Apple very well. So Apple's also announced this $500 billion investment in the United States economy. Great on the surface, appease the president. He put one of his social media posts out again of just saying, look how amazing Apple is. Well, that's what Apple wanted to happen because they were doing this anyway. They would have put out the same press release, whether it was Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or Joe Biden, whatever. They actually have put out the same press release twice before, in 2018 and 2021. So it doesn't matter what president it is, Apple is happy to remind the government, because they need the government to be on their side, regulations, to say, hey, we're investing in Apple, or we're investing in the United States, and they are. But this plant being built was already being built before this proclamation came along. All of these plans were made well before Trump was even elected. So it's just saying it out loud makes Trump happy. That's a win. This is Tim Cook's playbook.
It's politics rather than technology, and Apple is proving to be very good with politics.
Yes.
I mean, right at the top, we mentioned the UK stuff. One of the big things about it, the encryption thing, is Apple was legally unable to comment or even say that this was happening, but it still managed to leak really well. We do not know whether Google has been told to do the same thing, or Meta, or WhatsApp, or any of those, and we may never know. But Apple got the word out, so good on them. They know politics. So
I doubt this UK stuff will go anywhere, and we'll see. But just like with the DEI stuff, just like with this investment, so much is happening because we're in a quid pro quo administration, and Apple is doing its best to do nothing while making it look like it's doing something, which it has succeeded at so far. Almost everything Apple has done, I think the only thing it has done directly that has actually made a change is the Gulf of Mexico. Beyond that, it was all stuff they were already doing, investments they had already made, things that they had already planned. But moving on, I don't think this one was planned. Some people do. There is a glitch in the algorithm, and this is a very fun one. If you say the word now, I want to point out before I even say it, this actually happens with multiple words. So.
No, I didn't know that.
This,
okay.
Yeah, people have been since I wrote this, so I couldn't include it in the original story, and there's no point in writing another story about it. But people have figured out that across dictation, now this story's about dictation, speaking to text, speech to text on iPhone. If you say a word, sometimes it gets mixed up and puts a different word, and then reverts back to the original word. This happens all the time. But unfortunate circumstances have led to, if you say the word racist, it briefly thinks that you said Trump and then reverts back to racist. Now, Apple has come out and said that this is due to phonetics. Now, everyone's saying Trump and racist don't sound anything alike. It doesn't matter that they sound alike to the human ear. Computationally speaking, there's enough phonetic similarities that those two words would overlap in certain spaces, especially at the front of the word, the R sound being there. So you also need to combine that with an algorithm. Now, everyone keeps talking about AI and Siri. Both of those things have nothing to do with this. This is dictation, a completely separate system that is still run on machine learning. So what is happening is machine learning is brute force and kind of stupid. Now, I mean, AI is stupid for different reasons, but algorithms don't think, period. They are pattern matching machines, and you give it a bunch of data and it spits out something at the end. And Apple's dictation is trained on voice data. It is an aggregate, just like other algorithmic systems are. Like how Apple Maps works, figuring out how far you have to go, that's algorithmic data. That's not some AI telling you, like doing computational math. It's just, how often does it take someone this long to get somewhere, and it pulls it together from other information, whatever. When you start throwing enough information together, it starts pattern matching. And the word Trump and racist started appearing very close to each other in dictation more and more over the recent weeks, probably over the recent years, but especially over the recent weeks. Look back at the DEI stuff. So whether or not it's true, people have been using those words closer together. That's going to confuse an algorithm, because now two words with phonetic similarities are being used in tandem all the time, and now it can't tell if you meant one or the other. And it's going to use semantics and context to figure out which one you meant as you're speaking. So mid-sentence, you'll never notice that it said switched racist and Trump a couple of times. But if you just say the word racist and it shows Trump for a second, yeah, that's going to be weird. But generally speaking, it's going to rely on context to figure out which word you mean. Try dictating anything, and you'll see the paragraph randomly shifting around as you speak. The more words you say, the more it changes until it lands on what you actually said, because it understands what you meant. That's what's happening here. But people think it's some sort of weird subliminal secret attack against trying to, I guess, very specifically alter the minds of anyone who uses dictation and says the word racist a lot, to associate that word to Trump. It doesn't make any sense. Conspiracy theories almost never make sense. The earth is flat, whatever. We never went to the moon, whatever. And the funnest part about this is, I just wanted to point out, I think we'll all get a chuckle, is Alex Jones called AppleInsider a joke because of our story. So just wanted to throw that one out there. That was entertaining.
Okay. It does seem to be the most unfortunate happenstance at the most unfortunate possible time for Apple and the world, which is what makes it kind of funny, I think. But
it's very humorous. Yeah. I don't think Trump would find it funny. I wonder if we'll hear from him about it. He's had time to say something, and we haven't seen anything yet. But this is one of those things that's going to get fixed very quickly if it isn't fixed already.
Oh, yes.
And it's actually kind of hard to do. Once you've done it once or twice, the algorithm's actually tuning into what you're saying, and it fixes itself. People found that it also happens with other R words for some reason. It's just Trump is heavy on dictation right now. People are talking about Trump, and people are using... I don't use it very much, but I've seen people do it. So I think General Pop is actually using speech to text a lot. They're talking into the end of their phone to create a text message and then hitting send. People are bringing Trump up more often. I think it's just one of those things where the algorithm got a little oversaturated one way or the other. And again, unfortunate circumstances, but still quite funny that out of all the things that could have happened...
Yes.
And I did want to point out, since we're here, people are always quick to say, well, why does this always happen to conservatives and never to liberals? The answer is less complicated than you think. It's not some secret attack against conservatives. It's not that everyone wants to mute conservatives, right? Like, when social media tends to... people notice that conservative voices are getting... soft muted or blocked or post deleted more often because of and they're conservatives. They think it's because they're conservatives. It's not the case. It's because conservatives statistically post more misinformation or hateful content. It's not my statistic. It's just the truth. So they feel like they're being attacked. Whereas also in this case, no one's talking about Joe Biden, right? In general conversation, he was a very boring president. But everyone's talking about Donald Trump because a lot of people are either afraid or reacting or angry. They're talking about it more. So you're being spoken about more. Therefore, the algorithms are going to be triggered more. It's one of those weird situations where, it could happen to liberal stuff too. It's just y'all are out there more and y'all are saying and doing more, and that will get you affected more often. It's just the law of large numbers at this point. And so I just wanted to kind of point that out as I don't think it's anything to do with bias or anything like that. It's just y'all are making yourselves more known and speaking out more and frankly getting in more trouble more often. So it's just one of those things that it may feel that way, but it's almost never the conspiracy theory. I understand those are easier to believe sometimes, but it's just not. But I think that's it for today's Controversy Corner. And we can move on.
Oh, can I come back? Okay. What have you got? No, as in, I've been trying not to... Obviously, I've just talked all the way through it and agreed with you. But in my head, I'm trying to compartmentalise it. And I'm back for the end game because I think you've promised to me that we're going to have something nice now, aren't you? Something good.
Yes. Sorry, William, for ruining your week as usual. No, I think this is very fun. Susan Kerr, right? Is that how you say her name?
Yes.
Susan Kerr. She is Happy Mac, right? That design, gotta love it. A lot of the original Mac designs came from Susan.
All of the original icons for it, every one of them, including, admittedly, the bomb that used to show up when your machine crashed. Didn't like her for that one, but everything else in those little grids. Yeah, she's brilliant. Yeah.
But now you can bring a little bit of her art to your keyboard for an exorbitant amount of money.
Oh. Okay. Does it have the dog cow? You're looking at me like you don't know what that means, and I feel so old.
I have a T-shirt with Clarice on it. Like, come on. What do you take me for? Yeah.
I'm sorry. How could I possibly judge? I used to have one of her sweatshirts with plain white thing with just the command symbol, the cloverleaf thing up in the corner, and I really liked that, and I wish I knew where I'd lost it over the years.
Anyone listening wants some of this kind of merch, go to Basic Apple Guy. He makes some awesome stuff. He has a command series of shirts that he updates every year it has Apple's command symbol, but usually other art with it, usually surrounded by little gifs, glyphs, icons of Apple computers and stuff like that. Awesome work. He sells through Cotton Bureau, but if you go to Cotton Bureau, you can also You can also find, this isn't an ad, you can also find dog cow shirts. Just saying, if y'all want that kind of merch, it exists.
Okay,
I
but
buy
bring
stuff like
it
that
back
all the
to
time.
the legend that is Susan
Yes.
Kerr. Come on.
Yes.
So, how much is a lot of money then
So
for it?
these keys are $644 for a silver key, or $1,033 for a gold key. Or up to $2,065. For pendants apparently. But yeah, these are incredibly priced. But if you want a piece of this history and maybe paying some of her bills, you can buy some of these very cute icons.
Do you know where the command symbol icon came from? Do you know the story?
No idea.
She was going through, I think it was Swiss atlases looking for things, and that symbol, or one very close to it, was supposed to represent a point of interest. And the history of it was that it's actually a castle with 4 turrets around it. Now, she stylized it a bit, but that's what she picked, and we all use it without a single thought to this day.
Yeah, I've heard people call it a clover before, but yeah, no.
Yeah,
I think...
I've called it that, and maybe I shouldn't. Castle sounds like a chess thing. Command key symbol. We know what we mean.
Yeah, you're castling your keyboard.
I'm trying to work out. Well, a lot of it. I'm trying to work out 102 keys on the average keyboard. If you replaced it'd be $102,000 to get every key replaced with something, and they all have those symbols on, so you wouldn't know what you were typing either. Okay, I'm kind of for and against this in the same breath now.
I think it's meant to be an escape key, not like anything else. You just replace your escape key with one of these guys. Yeah, I have a bespoke escape key that is a Snorlax sleeping in it, so it's a Pokemon.
Oh, thank you. I was going to ask. Okay, right.
It's my favorite Pokemon, but
you poke the Pokemon in order to escape.
Yes,
that's somehow deep.
Even though escape is used almost nowhere anymore, especially on iPad, you just don't use it. But speaking of closing, so we have a couple of reviews. We wanted to get to them last week, but we really went over. We're going over today, but we have a little bit of we have some spare time. I wanted to say. Crosby Wills left a great review on Apple Podcasts. Let me get it in front of my eyes. Thank you guys for not getting down or changing your show because of the loud haters. You guys are doing great and keep up good content. I've been listening for a year and honestly probably way more. I hope that you keep up the good content and great explanations. You guys are the best. So that was very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Crosby. And we have a couple here. I mentioned their names last week. I just wanted to briefly say, there's a more button and I didn't grab it. But Brian Crink says that they don't see much awareness being brought to the tech space about breaking away from the laptop form factor. And I'm one of the few in Apple tech space, that is highlighting the benefits of using a Mac Mini as a primary computing device and bringing your own peripherals like the Vision Pro, iPad, and other things. So that was interesting. Battery. This is where it cuts off, but I'm remembering what he said. We also got a review from Prairie Dog. Wes, William, and their team keep the listeners fully informed about all things Apple, as well as related technology trends. This is a positive podcast with very knowledgeable commenters who will give you accurate and timely information. So thanks, guys, for enjoying the show. I want to point out, too, we got a couple of rough reviews here. Again, really more towards politics. If these were probably out before the controversy corner, so maybe that will help these guys who hate the political side of things get away from it and continue listening to our show. Some people have mentioned leaving. That's fine if that is your choice. One person mentioned stick to the news and not the politics. Well, I'll say I'm sorry. The news and the politics are one. We can't really avoid it. And we're not going to not talk about it because this is the Apple podcast and we're going to talk about Apple. And Apple happens to be in the world where there are politics. So hopefully our new little segment will help you guys who really don't want to hear this. And I don't blame you. Again, there's no judgment here. If you don't want to hear about politics, maybe you're exhausted from it. Maybe you don't agree with it. Whatever your reasoning is, we're going to give you a little bit of an out by making it a specific chapter, and hopefully that'll help everyone going forward. Please continue to leave reviews. Let us know what you think of the show and how this little format change works. If you guys appreciate having it all in one spot, we'd be happy to hear about it. And you can, of course, leave that in Apple Podcasts. You can reach out to me on Blue Sky, also Mastodon, or via email. And the email is available at the top of any article I've written in case you forget, but it is wes@appleinsider.com. And William, where can people reach out to you?
Well, right now, it'd be nice to see you on my 58 Keys YouTube channel, because the numbers for that have just zoomed up for some reason. Perhaps it's the politics-free daftness about writing technology. I don't know. But 58 Keys on YouTube, or as ever, as always, email william@appleinsider.com. That's probably my favourite, although, yet again, I'm a bit behind this week. I feel guilty there. But I'm savouring it. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Of course. Well, everyone, thanks again for listening. If you are a paid Apple Insider Plus subscriber, we're about to get into technology and the future we were promised from sci-fi and the future we actually got, and maybe the one that we hope to get later. And we'll be diving into that soon if you guys stick around. Otherwise, we'll be back next week. Talk to you then.